Good morning, Bayview Mac Race fans. I'm Dobbs Davis giving you the Day 3 Monday morning race analysis report brought to you by National Fleet Services and VanTol and Vitelli Insurance Group. We open with the tracker of the Cove Island course, and as you can see, great progress overnight from last night's report, and everybody is making their final approaches into the island. Let me zoom in to show this in a little more detail. Many of the boats actually in this division have already finished, but it's useful to just see who we have out here and how much time is left. But with the scale down here in the lower left corner of the screen at 10 miles, you can see that they're getting very close, sailing up to the north of Beau Island. And yeah, boat speeds are good, 6.2, 6.4, 6.3, and by the wind graphics overlays here, it's perfect. It's reaching conditions in about, according to this, 12 to 15 knots of wind. That seems to square with the boat speeds of these boats that we're seeing. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, there's Dave Hirsch's Bad Whiskey, Nelson Merrick 36. Yeah, going along nicely at 6.8 knots. It would be interesting to see if this is a wind angle that may support some specialty headsels that some of these boats might have, or even, very flat spinnakers. Just looking at the boat speeds and knowing a little bit about the boats, I don't think so. I think this is headsel reaching. They're doing the very best they can to get across the finish line. Let's scroll back a little bit and see when and where our first finishers, came in. I will actually zoom out a little. So last night when I did my last analysis, it looked like the wind had shifted a bit to the west so that this was becoming more of an upwind leg, and you can see some evidence of tacking here, port and starboard tracks. The very first leaders here, these are the three GL52s, Heartbreaker and Natalie J and Mockingbird. They were fighting each other all the time. Looks like an upwind leg based on their angles, but and if we look there, this is yesterday. It says just before 6 p.m. So they came in at daylight hours. They did a great job of maximizing their speed on this track, and maybe a little lucky in having wind the whole time. As a result, if we're starting to see race results here, when you go to the main page and you click on results, you get this ordering for both the Cove Island and then down here the shore courses. And this is ranked according to corrected time. It may not be surprising that these three GL52s are on top of the leaderboard. And will likely remain there. I don't think anybody's able to get in and correct over them. But this suggests that the fast boats in general were dominating these top results. However, look at Eagle One, Tim La Riviere's boat. This is decidedly a cruiser racer. It's Italia 14.98. And then the Kirkman's on Hot Ticket. That's J120, very well sailed. To be up in the top 10 in this group is quite good. Some sleds with Evolution, Illuminati. But then here, Chuck Storms with his Italia 9.98. So a pretty good mix here in the top 10. I think that shows that those guys are well rewarded for trying hard on this race course. And I'll shift over now to the shore course in the tracker, and we'll talk a little bit about what they've been doing. But anyway, congrats to all who have finished this race in that course. This was they're going to be talking about this one for years for its high speeds and nice conditions, and a little bit tough at the beginning with the downwind. And my understanding was there was a squall that affected some boats. We'll talk about that in a moment too. All right, going over to the shore course. Situation not a lot different. This fleet had less distance to sail at 205 miles versus 259. Their angle in this course didn't involve a lot of downwind VMG running, nor any tacking. Some tacking, but not much. And therefore, proportionally, they're pretty fast on this race course. If we look at the wind arrows, we can see why that is. This was a reaching race course, point of sail for them most of the race. You can see evidence of some tacking when the wind went light earlier. Well, let's see. I guess that was afternoon yesterday, maybe into the early evening. Some of the boats hit some light air, had to deviate course. Probably struggled a bit in the middle, but generally pretty straight tracks. In fact, there we go. That's a little easier to see. And then zooming in, we still have a few boats from this fleet that are on their way, still on their way, but they're going along nicely. 5 knots, 6 knots. So they're looks like quite comfortable reaching in toward the finish. A lot of boats have already crossed the finish line in this course. We'll have now switch over to looking at results for the shore course. And this is ranked again in overall for the monohulls on the shore course. They actually have another division here with the cruising boats. So CNC 35 Mark I Underdog sitting on top of the leaderboard. Rob Bunn's Wind Toy, his Morgan 42, and then Shape, we saw them, and Spencer Channel and Courage. I think these scores for each class will get displayed once, and there'll be a link to show that. Right now, when you click on these, you just get the back to the scratch sheet. I think in part that's because these results, by the way, are what we call provisional. If there was any administrative issues or rule compliance issues, that would affect what the final results may be. So we look at these as just being provisional for now. A lot of the cruising class has finished too, and that's again a testament to an exceptionally fast race this year. So these boats are generally not set up for racing. They're limited on the number of sails they can have and a few other restrictions. They've done exceptionally well to finish within these times. If you remember, our leaders Chico 2 and Warsaw and these guys, they're a little deeper in the correct. Even though they were probably first to finish, they were a little deeper in corrected time simply because these other boats were right behind them. And as I explained in my show yesterday, the results are ranked by corrected time and how that works. Speaking of which, I want to now switch over to try to explain what that means. How did the ratings get done for this race? And this is how it works. This is a page out of the USA scoring options in the ORC Race Management Guidebook, and this shows the formulations that Bayview Yacht Club has used to come up with a course model for a typical shore course and Cove Island course. This is as you can see, a matrix of wind values from 4 knots up to 16 knots. The club feels that this represents the usual range and wind speeds in these races. And then the wind angles, what the typical percentage of the wind angles are at each of those wind speeds. One of the things, of course, you might notice, enhanced by the shading and the coloration of the graphics, is a heavy skewing towards light winds in these models. So 23% in the 4 to 6 knot range, and gradually taping off to be less represented in the matrix of the higher wind ranges. And yet we really didn't see that in this race, did we? We saw pretty solid conditions for most of the race. So in a scenario like this, what that means is the boats that were out there were outperforming this model, and then the rankings then will reflect, well, what was their proportional forte in performance relative to this model. We don't have time to talk about this in these broadcasts, but I may touch on it in my final show about another method that's used to possibly better replicate the actual conditions out on the course. One last thing for this morning's show. Sorry, I don't want to go to that. I want to go to this. Well, actually, I will go to this. So if we go back over to the Cove Island course tracking and just zoom in on a couple of boats here. I want to point out these guys. MC2, these are boats that have retired. When they have the gray shading on their icons, that means the boats are retired from the race, but their trackers are still on. Why are they still heading up to the finish? Why are they still heading up to Mackinac Island when they retired the race? And the answer is simple. At the end of this week is the next race to Mackinac, the Chicago Mac race, and they will be they'll be participating in that most likely. So even though they may have had a problem that caused them to retire, they're likely commuting over to the other side of the other lake. I want to point out also Trident. This boat had an unfortunate incident during the start of the race where somebody was thrown overboard. I'm pretty sure they broached the boat. Boat heeled over. Somebody fell off. Good news is they were retrieved and everybody's safe. There was another man overboard incident that happened also close to the start, and that too has had a good outcome. So I wanted to just touch on that briefly by showing you this. At the bottom of the page on the results, you see these protest reports. That's something that certainly competitors look for if they think there was a rules issue that may have involved them. They monitor this very closely. But what this also does is help illustrate what happened out there associated with these rescues. So Pomfret is a Pogo 50, and they're explaining that the time and the place and what happened and their involvement with the man overboard recovery. So what they're doing in this story here is they're asking the jury to give them some time associated with the time lost that they lost in deviating from the race to affect that rescue. This boat Solution also, they assisted Trident, and their Trident had a prolonged broach, so the boat laid down, heeled way over, somebody fell overboard. What happens is there's a whole protocol of things. We're trained with safety. It's an important part of this race and all offshore races. There are standards and equipment and protocols, and all that involves training. Hopefully not practice, but we need to be aware of it, and competent crews do that. And so what's great about this situation is that that all activated and resulted in fast recoveries of boats, of people that were overboard, boats that went back to racing after doing these recoveries. That's a great sign, and the whole thing is just a great story. Similar thing happened last year in the Chicago race. So to me, that's an important part to point out in our sport is safety. And when everybody knows the protocols and things are done properly, we can have results from incidents like this that are not a problem and not tragic. So I think that's it for me today. I will come back later today and dig a little deeper into the results. But thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll certainly look forward to bringing you more information here on this 101st edition of the Bayview Mac Race. Signing off for now, I'm Dobbs Davis.